Hi, everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Randall Foster, Vice President of Business Development at Symphonic Distribution, Nashville. In his role, he's responsible for finding and working with independent artists, songwriters, bands, and record labels. Let's head back to Nashville and join Randall as he continues to sit down with Hannah to discuss the ever-changing role of music distribution, publishing, copyright, and other business aspects of the music industry.
Have you faced any personal hurdles in this business? I always think that's fascinating to hear people's story of overcoming, whether that's difficulty getting a break in the area that you want to, a hit song, the company you wanted to work for, and how did you overcome those things? Because there's a lot of hurdles you face continually, but some stand out more.
Yeah, corporate expectations in a large corporation are always tough to keep up with, and provide a bit of a hurdle. I'd say personally, my biggest hurdle has been work-life balance.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I've had to train myself to create distance between myself and this business I love, and hone in on the people in my life that matter the most to me, because music is like a drug.
Yeah.
And if I'm not super conscious about it, I could work 24 hours a day. I don't have an off button. And so I have to really work to put the phone down or to leave work early to get to soccer practice.
Yeah.
Why? Because it has to be a priority for me at this moment.
Yeah.
And that's been a part of my personal struggle that I've dealt with. And I think a lot of people deal with that, especially parents in the industry. I think, the industry isn't easy on marriages. There's an awful lot of broken relationships because of this industry. And it's not because the industry is inherently bad, but the good times can keep going. And if you're not careful, and you only keep your eye on those good times, what you'll realize is you've left the people that matter the most to you behind.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's been my biggest struggle. I've been very fortunate that I've worked for some incredibly smart CEOs and directors in my life that have helped shape me and mold me. And when I've stepped out of line, have pulled me back in a kind and loving way to help me learn how to be the best executive I can be. And without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. But at the same time, as important as those relationships are to me and have been to me, my family is first. And coming full circle on that and realizing that, this will wait. CBS will wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know they say they need it now. If they really want it, they'll wait till tomorrow. And getting to a point in my own personal maturity where I can come to that conclusion and put the computer down and say, what movie do you guys want to watch?
Yeah.
And I think I've gone there. I've gotten there. 5 years ago I wasn't there. 5 years ago I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and running towards the light. And so it's taken some growing up on my part. But that to me is the biggest single struggle. It's not an industry struggle. It's it's a personal struggle, but it's a byproduct of how wonderful this space we all work in is.
Yeah. And I think that's so good. A lot of times, I think we all get caught up in that, where I've got to do this in my career, and if I do this, then I can have this home life and these relationships over here.
Chicken and egg.
Yeah, chicken and egg. And I think a bit of it, yes, you have to achieve some goals, but I think the richness of our careers, as you're saying it, really comes from home. About
3 or 4 years ago, I started bringing my kids to showcases.
I love that.
Well, because it did a few things. First of all, it let them see what it is I do. Second of all, it instilled in them the same love in music that I have in music. My daughter this morning before school was writing a song, and she's 8 years old. And it was all over the place, and I don't know what it was about. But it doesn't even matter at this point, And last night, a songwriter friend was at the house and was talking to my daughter about how wonderful voice memo is on her iPad, and how if she only had voice memo, she wouldn't have to write down the words. She could just sing into it. And this morning, Dad, can I get a new app for my But being able to share that with them has been really magical for me, because I know that these are experiences that at the end of, when they're adults, they're going to look back and go, gosh, that was really cool that I got to go and, hear Jordan Davis play at a showcase before he was
Jordan
the
Davis.
top guy in country music,
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun. I feel that by sharing with the business with them, it's been a nice bridge.
It's amazing. If someone was going to say, Randall Foster, I want to be you, and they wanted to have your career and go into the field.
I was going to say, eat a lot of pizzas, stay up too late, don't sleep enough.
I love pizza. We can't not pizza ever.
See.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the people that don't like pizza, but I'm worried for you if you don't.
It's a thing.
If someone wanted to go into your field of business in the music industry, what advice would you give them? What steps if they haven't been to college, or if they have and they're saying, should I go back and get a master's?
I would say this. I learned some very integral things in school that have set me above and beyond a lot of people I've encountered. Not everything I learned in school worked that way. Mm-hmm. There are a couple of subjects that should be studied and memorized and owned if you're in this business. And this town is full of people who don't know them. Mm-hmm. One should be an expert in copyright. It's free. You can download the U.S. copyright code for free. You should read it top to bottom about 10 times. And if you don't understand what it means, you should get a friend to help you. Mm-hmm. At the root of everything we do is a protectionist device that keeps the creators safe, and it's called copyright. My knowledge of copyright and my application of that knowledge into publishing, into the record distribution business with mechanical royalties and whatnot, has been paramount. And that was something that was beaten into me in the very first semester of my master's degree is this is the building block on which we stand. If you don't understand this, nothing else matters. Yeah. And so, it's complicated and it's a headache to learn, and it's the single hardest class I ever took in all of my education. But in the history of it isn't nearly as important as where we are now. And really understanding if you're a songwriter, if you're a painter, for God's sakes, if you create anything, understanding the rights that are inalienable to you, that you can grant to others, and how those work into an economy are so paramount to success. It's one of those things that if you don't understand that, or if you don't grasp that, yes, you can hire people who do that. But you'll never quite understand why it is they're doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. The other thing I would say that has been invaluable to me is networking. Yeah. And I've been blessed with the gift of gab, and I like to talk a lot, and I like people a lot. Yeah. And I like to meet new people, and I like to help new people that I meet connect with old people I know in ways that help both parties. Mm-hmm. And I've spent my career as a connector. Trying to be a connector. Oh, hey, you know what? You should talk to this guy or gal because they do something that you guys should put this together, and maybe you both will make a bunch of money. And when you make your millions, don't forget the little guy. Yeah. And I've spent a career doing that, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew it was natural to my life, and I've been business developing other people for the entirety of my career. When I die, on my tombstone, on my epitaph, it's going to say people connector.
I love that.
That's what it's going to say. Because I get no more, there's nothing that gives me more gratitude than looking and seeing a successful anything that I've had some helping hand in helping put the right people in place to make things happen. Connecting people it's a little bit like booking co-writes, for a publishing company. That's connecting people. Yeah. And it goes all the way through, but building that rapport with as many people as you can and those relationships. This is a small insular business, and we all encounter each other a lot. And you're only as good as the last person you screwed over. Right. and people talk. People really talk, and so don't ever burn a bridge, no matter how bad it is. Don't ever burn a bridge. and always try to help others out. And I've found that just works. It's worked for me, and it's helped me every every step of the way. It's helped. Getting my first gig in the business was tough. That was I have to have the perfect resume and have to have, and I had to have a friend connect me to the gig, and it happened. But I met with a young man yesterday who's trying to enter into the business and for lunch, and he was asking me the same question. And he said, do you mind if I give you my resume? I said, don't send me your resume. I don't need to see your resume. I know you now. I know what you're about. I don't need to know the coursework you took in college. Every job I've had has been, we want you to come over and do this for us. Also, could you send us a resume so we can just put it in the file? It's never been the other way around, which HR departments all over the world, if they watch this, are going to freak out about. But it's always been about a connection. It's always been about somebody who I knew that figured out they thought I could be of benefit.
Yeah.
And that's worked out well for me.
Who do you think your greatest inspiration in your life has been, and what lesson did those people or that one person teach you?
Oh, my father.
Hands down.
Hands down. Consummate musician.
Yeah.
Hardest working guy I know. He was born at the end of the Depression with no money at all. He moved before he turned 8. His family had relocated, 9 times in South Texas. There was no jobs or food or work or sustenance. It was basically a desert. And they moved. They moved to where the jobs were. And so he worked his way up his industry, and I watched him reach the highest heights one can reach in the educational field in music. And I watched what he did to get there. And, the man never stopped, never stopped. And the only time he ever stopped was when he retired. And I asked him, a month or two ago, I said, well, are you writing any music today? He's a composer. So he's a writer.
Yeah.
I said, have you written anything? He said, no. I said, well, why don't you loved writing? He said, I didn't love writing. Said, it was my career. I'm retired. I don't have to write music anymore. And I thought, all right, man, go for it. You hang out and watch CNN all day. You're fine. But not really. I mean, he had this South Texas work ethic.
Yeah.
And, he'd get up at 5 a.m. and feed our cattle. I was raised on a farm. And he'd go to work all day, and he'd come home and feed the cattle before he fed himself. And of course, when I was old enough to help, I did those things too. But those experiences that I went through with him, working through that on a teacher's salary. I mean, I'm not talking about, some crazy, 6-figure industry executive salary. I mean, he made good money, but we never went without. I never wondered where a meal was coming from. I never had to worry about having shoes on my feet. And now that I'm a father, I see the economics involved in children, and it's awful.
It's crazy.
But he, his perseverance and his hard work through thick and thin was and is an inspiration. So without question.
What do you think your favorite story is? I know you have tons of stories from your career so far, but a favorite achievement or story, something that's just stuck with you?
The thing I'm proudest of thus far is a recording I produced that is about to receive platinum status from the RIAA. I was hosting a number of music supervisors in town. Mm-hmm. And one of which was a guy that I didn't know very well at all. He was a hard nut to crack. And, he's from Chicago. Is a little rough around the edges, and brutally honest about things, for better and for worse. And I demanded that he come to lunch with me. We realized we had a lot of commonality. And at lunch, I finally got him around to the, hey man, I'm kind of needing some help with a project right now, portion of the meal. I never, ever ask music supervisors what they need. And so this was one of those things where we were having lunch in Germantown, and through the course of lunch, we decided that after lunch we were going to go to a tattoo parlor because he wanted to get a tattoo, and he liked my tattoos.
You've got great tattoos.
Mom, the tattoos paid off, and so we, you know, we figured out we have a lot of common ground. And he said, you know, I got this thing I'm doing, and I need a female singer-songwriter to cover a song for me. I need an Elvis cover. And who do you have that could do that? And immediately I go, good, we're not a label. I don't have anybody. And then a light bulb went off in the back of my head. I said, you know what, actually, we just signed a label deal with this gal who was an American Idol alum who hadn't, her career had not come to the fruition that we all had hoped it would, that she had hoped it would. She'd released some albums and she had a rabid fan following, but she just hadn't quite hit that stride. And her name was Haley Reinhart.
Oh, her.
And so I said, you know, I got a gal. I said, tell me about the project. And he said, well, you know, it's for Wrigley Gum, Wrigley Extra. Wrigley's a big Chicago company. And we want to do this ad, and the creative in the ad's going to be really neat. And we decided we want Can't Help Falling in Love. And we really want a female cover of Can't Help Falling in Love, but it's got to be really unique. It cannot be just like Elvis sang it. Mm-hmm. Can't be just like any other recording. It's got to be really unique, really intimate. And the next thing I know, you know, I'm on the phone with creative out in LA, and I said, guys, you know, Haley's in the studio, right? Oh yeah. I said, all right, pull her to the side. We got to get a pianist. I need a piano vocal of Can't Help Falling in Love. And here's what I kind of need. I need it to be really intimate, and it needs to be free flowing. It cannot be on a metronome.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. And so they sent a first pass over to me, and I listened to it and kind of critiqued it here and there and pushed it back. And they sent another pass over to me, and I thought, oh, well, I'll present this. And so I presented it, and the supervisor said, oh my God, I love this. I love her voice. I love all this. And, you know, the story of her, she's from South Chicago. Wow. She's from the area. She's, you know, all the stars were slowly turning in the sky to lock in this whole process. And, you know, we went back and forth creatively quite a bit. And I'll never forget, he really had an ear for what he wanted in this thing. And he said, the description was, and this is the neatest part of it, and I'm sorry if I'm belaboring the story.
No, I want to hear the whole story.
But he said, it's Sunday morning. It's Sunday morning, and you've had the greatest night ever with the love of your life, and you roll over in bed before they're awake, before there's even coffee on. And you sing this to them almost in a whisper, this far off. Wow. And that's the intimacy we've got to get. And I verbatim repeated that to her. And she said, well, I don't understand. I said, get up on the mic. Get up on, I want to feel your breath on the mic.
Yeah.
And so that recording we sent over, and he said, that's it, we're using it. And I said, whoa, man, we got to master it. We haven't even mastered it yet. And he said, sorry, man, it's too late. We're already cutting the ad to it today.
Oh my gosh.
And so they cut the Extra Gum commercial to it that day. And obviously we went through the details of the licensing and all of that. But following that was the entire release strategy. In which I had to circle the horses and, you know, circle the carriages and say, all right, guys, we've got to get this out. Let's release it as a digital single. It's got to come out on this day because that's the day the ad goes. Also, we've got a viral campaign going on with this thing. And it was the first time at OLA that I really got to step back and just kind of do this instead of just playing in my own sandbox. All those stars aligned, and we, you know, the ad came out, a couple million hits. You know, a viral video service that's not coming to name right now featured the ad. You know, 10 million hits, and the YouTube video was just shooting through the roof, and you know, and the Shazam numbers were flying off the handle, and the whole time we're sitting back looking at the streaming numbers, and they're rattling up, and this was 3 years ago, so downloads were still very much a thing. The downloads were going up, and within less than a year, we had a gold record. And they said, the time that you always worry about is when you come around to renewal time.
Yeah.
They said, it's not broken. We're not going to fix it. Let's keep going. And they've renewed that ad for 3 years. And there are hundreds of reaction videos of people online who watched the video, which depicts really at a pretty tumultuous time in America, a man of Hispanic descent, who falls in love with a Caucasian girl in high school, and how they traverse through life together. And it's a life story. It's 15 years of someone's life that ends up with a proposal at the end, told in 60 seconds. And it was powerful storytelling. And that is the single biggest, most exciting thing I've been attached to, that I can place ownership on at all. And it's just the perfect storm. And it was fantastic storytelling, fantastic singing, amazing editing, perfect social media. It was kind of like that. How do I write the perfect song?
Yeah.
I could not box that and sell it. There's no way that I could put all of those things together to make that happen again. And that's the goal. I mean, that's always the goal. And I've got the playbook. I know what I did. And I know what we did to do that, and it's not just me. There was a massive team of individuals who made it happen, but it was one of those unity moments where, at the end, it's like we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We won the Super Bowl. We're all going to Disney World, and it wasn't for one person's efforts that did it. I mean, it was really the group locked arms and walked forward, and that was a big win. That was a big win for me personally. It was a big win for Olay. I mean, it very much put Olay on, in a new sphere as far as sync licensing went. It was a massive win for Haley. Haley got label offers from almost every major. Following that, ended up with a record label deal after that from another label, and it was life changing for her. And every time I see her, she tells me that, and it's magical to know that something that was just another day at work for me shifted things for her to the point where she's pretty much set for life. I mean, she's still making new music and she's touring, exhaustively. But to know that one of the jumping off points for that career was this deal that I was involved with really was special.
It's an amazing story. I've never heard the whole story all the way through, and thank you for sharing it. I will tell you that the first time I saw the commercial was before I ever met you. And I remember seeing it and, no joke, ugly crying, really pathetically blubbering, mascara everywhere.
Me too.
And I like that, just it is the power of music that I think is just it and specifically with when it's married right to film.
And that was the I was a fan of sync licensing and the licensing space for all of the economical reasons prior to that. And that was one of the first instances where I was involved in something that I felt took a greater artistic step.
Yeah.
And it's the creative director for the agency is a mad genius.
Oh.
And the vice president of music there that did the edit. I mean, every cue, it's like it was a scene every time, and it was an emotional roller coaster. I remember I got quoted in Billboard talking. How did you know it was going to be a hit? Question. The very first time somebody sent it to me, I was sitting on I-24, parked in my car because there was a wreck somewhere, and I'm watching it on an iPhone screen, and I'm crying in my car, sitting in traffic. And anything that can drive this guy to tears in traffic is going to have some emotional power behind it. And the rest of it was just. I mean, I won't call it luck. It was not luck.
Hard work.
It was hard work, but it was a million perfect pieces hitting together at the same time, and it was, I just hope 30 years from now I'm not looking back going, man, I really peaked out back in back in 2016 when we pulled that one off. The exciting part about this business is that there's going to be more like that. There always are, and so that's what keeps me getting up early to get to work and things like that is the idea that now in a different sense I can still help a career along. I can help somebody get that next big step to stardom. I'm an okay singer and an all right musician, but I never would have had what it takes to do it on stage. And so if I'm able to help somebody who does have what it takes, that's the good stuff right there.
And I love it's so good. It's like little, I call them nuggets of gold along the way, this whole conversation, but also just to be excited for what you do. I think that's a huge takeaway, that we forget it's good to love what you do. It's important to love what you do, because otherwise you could have never been as passionate about helping Haley and working, I'm sure, tireless hours to achieve this. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, it's interesting. We used to, when we would get into the drudgery of the day, I had a colleague that used to say, isn't this a wonderful world we work in?
Right.
This space. And it didn't matter how bad the day went. It's, at the end of the day, we're not curing cancer. We're not, you know what I mean? Like we're not. Like the worst problems we have aren't problems really when you look at them in the scope of life.
Yeah.
We get to go to work every day in any facet, whether you're editing video with Avid or doing, writing a song with your guitar and your best friend. You're going and you're doing something and participating in a space, in a creative space that's accepting, that wants to grow and get better, and it's a beautiful thing, The same colleague used to say we would have a brand new young songwriter walk into the house. We used to have a house, Music Row. And
I remember.
It was lovely, and he would be introducing them around, and he would walk them to their room where they were going to write, and he would say, "Be careful, young lady," and the girls would look at him like this, and he'd say, "You could write a song today that could change the world. That's an awful lot of burden to bear on your own shoulders. Have a great ride."
Mic drop.
This guy he's such a mentor to me, and has been such a positive influence in my life, and I heard him say it. And I remember the first time he said that, and I was just standing there like my jaw on the floor. I was like, did you really just say that?
Yeah.
but no, we're blessed. We're super blessed.
Yeah.
It's a Friday in the middle of a work day, and I'm sitting here in front of two gorgeous guitars, talking with you, about this beautiful, complicated business we all work in and love, and so. It's pretty nice.
It's your own mic drop moment right there.
It's nice, man.
It is.
Really
it's wonderful.
It is.
I don't want this interview to end. Favorite word or quote?
Oh, God.
Something you live by, or like, do you get up in the morning? Like I have like quotes on my phone, and I roll over, and those are the first thing I see, and it just powers me through the day.
Favorite word or quote? Tenacious.
I love that.
Be tenacious.
I love it.
In everything. And it's what got me into grad school. Mm-hmm. Fine line between tenacious and annoying, by the way. But it's what got me into grad school. It's what got me my first job. It's what helped me grow in my first company. It's what helped me network to the board positions I'm on in this town. It is, you have to be driven, and tenacious is the word.
I love it. Where can we connect with you on social media and follow you?
I'm easy to find. I'm very easy
All
to
the
find.
things.
At Randall Foster on Twitter. I believe it's that on Instagram, on LinkedIn. My Facebook I keep private for friends. But you know, that's about the only thing I really keep locked down.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And what's next? Do you have anything that's coming up right that you can share with us that's not top secret?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm in the middle of starting a company in Nashville right
Yeah.
now, so I'm kind of drinking from the fire hose right now.
Yeah.
But the next really big important thing I'm doing is taking my kids to New Orleans next week.
I love it.
And
My
we are going
family's
on
from there.
We are going on a jazz pilgrimage next week, and that's the most important thing I have on my agenda right now.
I love that. Randall Foster, you're one of my actual heroes, and I'm.
Stop.
You
Thank you so
are,
much.
and thank you so much for just being a part of this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.